Hello there. Good evening. GM Lurchington here again with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station. With me as usual are our players and their characters. The Bendu as Narset Jinn.
Hello there.
Dan as Captain Worram of Ithor.
Hey.
David as Master Xavix Silverstar.
Hey.
And our host Kyle as Zeef.
Hello there.
Gentlemen, if you're ready to see if the Force is with us, let's roll Destiny and begin. One dark side. Another two dark side.
Ooh.
Damn.
A fourth dark side.
Come on, Xavix.
Oh, yeah! The Force is with me, gentlemen.
Oh,
5
God.
dark sides.
Dude, it's been with you.
Everything's
Since
coming
I
up
started-
Ben Quadraneros.
Looks like looks like the Salvax are going to be a little more hostile than I had originally anticipated, and the Remnant might or might not take to being rooks as handily as you'd hope. Spider, on the other hand, is probably going to be exactly as ornery as you had feared. Zeef. So, gentlemen, last time we were here, things progressed for at least part of the group. Narset went on a shopping date and bought some armor, and then did a piss-poor job of sewing it to her robe, but she gets the stats for it anyway, so that's all right. Xavix
Fixed it at
teamed up with some of the other expats and handily divested the Imperial Remnant of quite a pile of credits, and then found out a little bit more about this whole race he's supposed to put on. Also learned the identity of the mysterious pilot whose mere presence at the Expat Club brought all these Remnant jarheads here in the first place. It's Griff Halloran, former Imperial ace, and now famed racing pilot. Zeef and Worram did a mild bit of torture back at their place, and with Stomper's assistance, got not really any more information about the Carcaro brothers than they had before, but this time they didn't kill the guy. So they've decided to bring him to Spider down in the city by the bay. We rejoin our ostensible heroes, Zeef and Worram, with a groaning Binder and barely conscious Worram stuffed in the backseat of their V-35 Courier as it races across the icy highway and into the city. The city streets are thick with workers from several of the shifts that are currently out at the factory. They have far more workers than they need so that they can work round the clock with no stoppage. So there are always extra hands about here in the city. Probably why there's so much downtime and many amusements. You pass Arabish signs in neon and Huttese ones as well, advertising all kinds of low-grade sin and vice as you pass between the tall tower where the workers up at the Volcano factory and the gas work spend their nights or their days when they're on the night shift. You reach the heart of the city where a 3-story wall of green stone, all imported at great expense from off-world, years ago marked the border of the Hutt Cartel compound. There's plenty of foot and even some speeder traffic in and out here in the late afternoon, and you see that many workers who are here getting ready to begin their evening are heading up towards wide steps that lead into the main building of the compound. They're barrack for all of the off-world guards and thugs who work as muscle for Vork and Spider here on Iceball. Off to one side, there's a large hangar for Skiff and some fighter craft with a huge landing platform on top for Vork's yacht, which is currently away because he is off-world on business. You see that Spider's glistening black land speeder is parked off to the side towards the front of the building where it can be brought around in a hurry. And you're able to find a spot to leave the speeder if you wish to dismount and enter the compound itself.
Misa got a bad feeling about this one.
So you got your rifle and you're just frog marching.
I'm not
guy
wielding
up the steps?
the rifle. I have it slung on the shoulder, like in an...
Okay.
in like a passive position. Like I'm
Getting
not
this guy ahead of you.
I'm not like coming in like this. I've just like got it slung. I've got
Okay.
probably both hands on the Quarren, I think. And I don't know, am I the only one dragging him, or has Worram got his other arm?
No, I figure I got one shoulder, you got the other kind of
Okay,
thing.
cool.
One on each side.
The press of bodies of workers making their way in to begin an early evening. Well, the sun's just starting to go down, so it's about time, damn it. Give you a burst once they notice the rifle and the binders, and there's enough space for the pair of Gamorreans lightly steaming in the cold Iceball air that are flanking the massive open doors to the compound. Take notice of you and waddle forward, brushing aside the workers in their path, nearly stepping on a short-statured Celestian as they do, and stop in front of you. They squeal in their closest approximation that they can make to Huttese. What's going on here? They gesture over to the other side of the compound. You know that the bounty hunters turn in over there.
I was gonna say, I'd like to make a charm check on these guys that this is somebody that their boss Spider is really gonna want to meet. Oh, failure, 3 advantage.
Okay. 3 advantage, though.
So he goes,
So he does not want to let us in.
Correct.
But
got any ideas there?
so he's not gonna just like let us in, but maybe with 3 advantage, he maybe he calms like somebody higher up or something that
He goes,
we got somebody out here that
there's some bounty hunters out here. Someone come over here and deal with them. And they say, go stand over there. And the workers file past you, and you stand out in the cold long enough that you each have to make a hard resilience check.
Okay. That's a bad one.
Worram, you're going to take 4 strain.
Okay.
Zeef, you're not.
Sweet.
Good thing you wore your jacket.
Mm-hmm.
You are lightly covered in a dusting of snow. By the time the yellow and red gank bounty hunter stomps out into the snow and glares at you through the slits in its helmet, he goes, Zeef, what are you doing here? Why didn't you call Spider?
Why do good friends have to call? I got something for him. Why don't you just go tell him to let me in?
He looks at the quivering Aqualish next to you and he goes, yeah, all right, come on. And turns and brushes his way through the crowd. Heads in through the wide corridor. As soon as you enter through the archway of the entrance of the main compound building, the temperature reaches what some would call habitable level. The humidity turns from falling, frozen water falling from the sky at all times of every day to what is absolutely pleasant for you, Zeef. And by the time you are down the long winding corridor into the first of many wide domed rooms that make up the interior of the main building here in the cartel complex, Zeef, you're ready to take off your jacket. And honestly, you've never felt this comfortable in your life. You're from Narset, and then you came here.
Right.
You're in a swamp right now, Zeef.
Nice and humid. More up his
The
alley.
first thought that crosses your mind is why you've waited this long to take Junior or Spider up on their many invitations and come down here, because you have never in your life felt so at home in your own skin as you do entering into these rooms. Plus, the environment around you is being on Narset. It's a nice cantina vibe in here. There's a band. You're here in the outer bar. There's a weapon check on the wall where usually anything larger than a sidearm would need to be placed in a locker for a receipt or a coat, anything, that you don't want to carry in the bar. But you and your bounty hunter escort scroll right past. But there's no violence here. Everybody's working for the same boss. There's no factions. Everyone works different shifts under the same foreman at the same factory, under the same hut here. There's none of the factionalism that got you into trouble back at home.
Right.
And you wonder, Fishtown's nice, but maybe this is where I should have been. You're led through the first room into a second larger room, a vast room. Along the far wall, there's another archway, and there you see a raised dais with dim light and curtains drawn halfway across. You imagine that's where Vork would be seated, were he on world. Maybe not this early in the evening, but certainly later. Instead of passing through to the third of the outer room, where you hear the sound of games tables and machines, you're led to the side of the dais, back through smaller corridors that branch to an office. You're stopped outside the door. There are some seats here where you can sit with your back against the warm stone in the pleasant humidity. And the bounty hunter leaves you there for long enough for you and Worm to have a few words while he goes in and speaks to Spider. The quorum has been dragged, bumped, bounced. He was mildly harassed on the way through the outer bar. He slumps against the wall and rests against the floor with his legs extended against the corridor as the door to the office closes.
Zeef's not going to sit down. He's going to choose to lean against the wall, waiting for our appointment. We're waiting for someone to come and get us.
Yeah, Worm would kind of drag the Worm up onto the bench and then kind of like hold him down with like one hand, like kind of on his shoulder, like keeping him down in his seat. And
So you got like the bailiff job.
Yeah, I think you would ask Zeef. So how do you wanna play this going in?
We're gonna do what we came here to do, but be ready for anything. Like I said before, Misa got a bad feeling about this one.
Okay, and I think Worm would kind of just tap his utility belt, where he's got his weapons holstered, and kind of give him a little side eye that he knows what they may be getting into.
I have a so this is gonna sound dramatic, but I have a grenade.
You do. You have a couple.
So you're saying last plan is the Leo Organa?
No. So it's not
Every
a frag
player
grenade.
always
I do have a frag grenade, but I have it's called like a spooge grenade or something.
You have a glop grenade.
Glop.
A glop
Spooge.
Don't say spooge.
I also-
grenade.
So I have a glop grenade. Can I remotely trigger it? Can I like stash it in this little plant pot in the hallway? So if he calls for backup, I can glop him in the hallway.
You can, with a mechanics check, you can set a grenade to go off later or when triggered by a comlink. You have to make a mechanics check on the device now.
Okay.
Without looking at anything, I'm going to say it's going to to be hard.
Can I see
And
that
blows you up.
Zeef is about to do something with the grenade
He's doing
and
it right in front of you. Yeah.
grab it out of his hand and be like, "What are you trying to do?"
How?
Yeah.
Woo!
So, Zeef, the bomb has been taken from you.
And so I think Worm is going to be like, "What are you doing?"
Do you want to make a roll, Zeef, to keep your bomb?
No, that's fine.
You let
I'm
him snatch it. You're used to Worms snatching things from you at this point.
Yes, and I also
learned
do
to release
recognize.
instead of
Yeah,
clench.
yeah. I've learned to release.
This is a safety snatch. Safety snatches are okay, Zeef. Safety snatches.
I've come to
mean
realize that
hurt
it's for my
yourself.
own good. I've come to realize that it is for my own good. So.
So he hears that, or so I'm assuming Zeef is going to tell him what he's trying to do to trigger this remotely.
Just talking just like
The
in case.
glop grenade.
Yeah, slow down
Because
any
he runs,
reinforcements.
So
Splooge him.
I do have a tool belt and
I know.
other stuff.
And right, so
I'm helping, but I'm like little kid helping. Like I'm just sort of holding the light. I'm holding the flashlight for you.
working on explosives with
this is the glop- this is the
upgraded
glop grenade, right?
challenge.
Yes, this is the glop. The whole point
Absolutely.
is we're not trying to kill any of these hut people because
Worst
that's going to
case-
have
Hopefully
far-reaching
this doesn't
implications.
kill me if I fuck it up.
Worst case
Right.
scenario is that Spider opens the door to see you guys covered in
Covered in-
spooge while the Quarren is legging it away.
Will being covered head to toe in spooge reduce our ability to negotiate?
Yes.
Yes, and movement. It decreases movement.
Well,
lot of things.
the corn is right next to us, right? So he would get hit if if this
He
thing
might.
moves.
I'm saying worst
True.
case
I guess if we
scenario.
get
It's not a big hallway. It's got a highish ceiling though, right?
Somehow
so,
it hits both of you and not him. And right as Spider walks out.
And I wasn't even thinking that, like, if Spider, like, if the Quarren runs, we glop him. It's like, if this is a double cross of any kind and Spider calls for goons to run down this hallway towards us, we glop them.
You are very paranoid. Your other GMs are not like me. So yes, you are very successful at wiring this grenade to go off with whatever kind of fucking device you want at this point, Worram. You know
is this now
mean?
permanently affixed to the wall? Like, when we leave, can we quickly sort of disable and take it back with us?
You can just
grab
it.
Okay, cool.
I'd say with 4 success, we can get it back pretty easily.
Dude, it's Sabine Wren. You can throw it, you can stick it to stuff. All right, so you rig up a grenade on the wall just in case of emergencies, hidden not quite behind a potted plant so that the glop will go everywhere. Once you're done with this, the door whooshes open. The Gank bounty hunter is standing in it. He walks out, grabs the Quarren roughly off the bench, and pulls him off to the side so that you guys can precede him back into the office.
All right, let's head in there.
Okay, yeah, follow him in.
All right, Spider's office is long with a high ceiling, many potted plants. Worram, now you feel quite at home here. Spider has recreated, he's turned the swamp outside into truly a jungle in his office. Large potted dwarf trees are just tall enough to stretch their branches across the ceiling so that the lights built in above filter down between the leaves in patterns on the floor that are moving. The walls are lined with shelves. One side, screens, some displaying information, some displaying feeds from within the compound itself. The other side, rows of tanks, each a terrarium of different biospheres with small creatures within. Why don't both of you go ahead and make a perception check as you come in? All right. As you make your way across the room, your feet occasionally crunching a falling leaf. There are 2 plush chairs seated there. And across the massive desk, there are a couple more terrarium there on the desk. One is a miniature jungle. The other, water with a large frog sitting on a lily pad. Across from you, reclining in a 4-armed, high-backed chair, is Spider. He's tapping 2 of his hands together. A third is holding a drink. And the 4th is stroking just below his large fangs, which click together happily as you sit down across from him. He says,
Zeef, what is it? Do you not want Junior to get a signing bonus?
So Zeef pointedly takes, plants a hand on the Quarren and just sort of like shoves him down to his knees, like as if presenting him in front of the desk, and says, Junior didn't say please.
Spider chuckles. He goes,
I thought you already told me everything you know, Zeef.
Maybe we should tell you everything I know. Not everything Hisa knows. And then I gesture to the Quarren, like, why don't you meet Miss Apollo here? I'm sure you 2 would have a lot to talk about.
Have a seat, Zeef. Let's talk. Make our friend comfortable on the other side of the room.
The Gank reaches down past you, looks over at you through the slits in his helmet as he hauls the Quarren back to his feet, drags him down, and plants him in a chair
in
on the far end of the room.
In the brief moment that our eyes meet, I wiggle my eye stalks at him like this. just to gauge a reaction from him, just like wiggle, wiggle.
There's an exasperated grunt from underneath the helmet.
That's what I thought, bitch.
He stands there cleaning between the joints of his left hand with a small screwdriver during the rest of the conversation, keeping an eye on the Quarren.
Zeef gestures over to Worram and says, You remember Captain Worram, as I take my seat.
Yet?
I say this as I'm taking my seat, like gesturing for him to come and sit down next to me. Like, he's part of this. You remember this guy?
Spider spreads his hands out and he goes,
I know everyone who steps in my web, Zeef. You're here at the 11th hour. Now that your old boss is finally making a move to accept an offer I've been making for a year and a half, Zeef. Now that the Carcaro coming, you want to play nice. We could have been playing nice for a long time. You gave me that name this morning. That's all I need. We're going to deal with them. Why do we want to deal with you now?
Zeef's gonna negotiate with Spider to try and
He is a Hut Major Domo.
see if I can get him to reveal something that he actually like needs from us still.
Well, so here's how it goes. Zeef settles into his seat. The Quarren is dragged away. Spider says,
It's the 11th hour now, Zeef. Your old bosses are coming. They're gonna gobble you up, and then we're gonna deal with them. Now you want in.
as you get ready to launch your retort, the perception check that you didn't make earlier comes into play. And as you settle down into the chair, a spider with an abdomen approximately the size of a medicine ball drops from the branches above and lands in your lap. 8 legs, each about 2.5 feet long, and wide around as your wrists where they enter the body. A wobbling red abdomen like a sack full of jelly brushes past your face as the spider spins around to stare at you and plants 2 legs on your chest,
Oh hell no.
pinching at your jacket.
No, no.
Spider goes,
He likes you, Zeef. I like you too. That's why I've kept asking.
Call your pet back or he's gonna like my boot.
okay, so you're going to make a coercion check
Yes.
against Spider instead.
You have a potentially poisonous spider sitting in your face.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not succeed, and with 3 threat, the spider, detecting the anger in your voice, hisses at you, and the gentle pawing of its claws on your chest turn tight. And you take 3 to strain as the
Okay.
spider digs in with the claws. It leaps agilely off your lap before you can make good with any sort of threat. Skitters across the desk, quite clumsily actually,
Weird, I understood you.
and then clambers. It's a pet. It understands people's tone of voice. And clambers over into Spider's lap, where it makes itself comfortable. And he begins stroking its carapace. He says,
You don't like my pet, Zeef.
I'm sorry, I thought that was your nephew.
You Gungans are so funny, Zeef. You're very funny.
he's going to make a coercion check back
Okay.
against you.
That's weird though. A spider having a smaller spider as a pet.
Yeah.
They're like the
So
same
3
thing.
3 success and a despair.
Oh, we lost Dan. The
When it
despair was
comes
so
back.
hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So successfully, he leans forward and he goes,
You're so funny, Zeef. Funny little frog.
he opens the terrarium with the toad in it.
Well, we get to spend the despair, though, right?
You guys, you do get to spend the despair. I get to spend the success and
Okay.
describe that. How do
Okay.
you want to despair, and then I'll rework
Well,
the scene.
Well, no.
Or if you
How?
wanna
What were you
jump in.
gonna? What were you gonna do first? I guess.
So he's going to. Well, he dishes out the strain.
He's
the
sicking
way
a toad
he's
on me.
planning to intimidate.
You're such a funny frog, Zeef. This is what we do with funny little frogs.
He reaches into the wet water terrarium on the right side of his desk, where the massive toad sits on its lily pad. He snatches a smaller frog out of the water of the terrarium and dangles it by one of its legs for his lap spider to gobble up in front of you. But there's a despair in there somewhere, so maybe he leaves the top off and it fucking tips over and the frogs get out or whatever. You know?
Can
I don't know how you
I
wanna play the despair
I actually
angle.
I have a really good idea, but it might be ambitious and too much for despair. So
Let's hear it.
I feel like
Yeah.
Gungans have a pretty good
Especially
relationship with
narrative.
fellow amphibians, and I feel
Are you
like
gonna
I could
tongue
totally.
save him.
I wasn't gonna. Well, that'd be great. But no, what I was gonna do is I was gonna like throw some pheromones to put that big ass toad into heat real quick while he's sitting right next to Spider.
And it like humps his arm.
It starts humping him or humps his pet or something that's really embarrassing in front during this negotiation.
Well, so the big toad is in the tank.
Yeah, so
he's
he-
got the
So I could like...
You want to make that toad horny.
Make the toad horny, and then he's
acting
gonna
up.
like try and start climbing out of there, trying to like either climb onto the
Okay,
pet or
so
spider.
We've got an ornery toad situation now.
Cane toads!
Okay. Despairingly, his toad is now ornery.
I did not think I was getting into a fucking Pokemon battle with the spider today.
Spider casts spider.
Frog, I choose you!
Still a horny toad.
Zeef uses frog converts into horny toad. The toad is now ornery, and ornery toad has entered the playing field as a player in this narrative, thanks to the despair. It is ornery, it is horny, it don't want to be in this cage no mo.
This should be streetwise. This should
But
be a
you're
credit-
almost
streetwise.
donezo. You're at 12 of 13 strain, and
Yeah.
when you hit 14 strain, Zeefy got to take a nap now.
Can I take a
So-
maneuver to
Well,
recover
He
strain,
just-
like
he
at
can't-
any point?
He can't effectively negotiate anymore. Is how. I
Right,
think
he can't
it-
play. He's
It wouldn't
like
make
just
sense
sitting there
for
and
him to
he's
be.
like,
It wouldn't make sense for him to be knocked out.
no, but
but,
he'll be
yeah.
like, "Look, I can't.
He has an aneurysm.
He just
Too
can't.
much for him.
I'm at a loss for words
The
if
way
I get one more
Kyle
strain.
feels, the way Kyle feels rolls over into Zeef, and Zeef
It's
also
just
no
like-
longer has any way to deal with this, and just becomes paralyzed. Like my distinguished associate Worram is going to handle the rest of the negotiations. And Zeef just locks up. He's like,
Zeef just pulls his phone out and he's just like, fuck this.
yeah, 3PO
Starts playing with
his
his,
strain limit. 3PO hits his strain limit all the time. Excuse me, if you're not going to need me, I'm going to shut down for the rest of the next little while, because I've only got a strain threshold of 8. Thanks. I need to recover them shits all the time. So Spider reaches in, grabs a frog, dangles it, and his lap spider messily eats it in front of you. You notice the big red toad sitting on the lily pad in the terrarium start to get his legs into a bit of a more comfortable position underneath himself as Spider sets the lid back on, but he's distracted by his pet, and it doesn't set quite right. It's just on top. It's not sealed at this moment that Toad's getting his leg. But Spider looks at you and he goes,
Zeef, war's coming, right? Your boss is Katarn. They operate on Narset, that's fine. Everyone operates on Narset as long as they don't try to get too big. If you try to do other deals in our space, you've got to work with us. If they're going to work against us, there's going to be a war. You need to pick a criffing side, Zeef. Come work for me. You want me to take care of your criffing friend. We'll call it a hiring point. But you already gave me that conversation, Zeef. Hakaru's coming in a week and a half. In a week and a half, there's going to be a war. You can be in the middle, or you can be on our side. I don't think the Sharks are going to take you back, buddy.
he settles back to let you make your decision. Well, you've still got a strain threshold.
How about Worram steps in at this point? And,
That is perfect, because
and,
Zeef is not going to...
I've only got
Zeef
one
is
point
going-
left, so you better, yeah.
change his position,
Yeah,
and
so,
he's going to go out.
So Worram,
Now's the
Worram
time
kind of
for you to come in. And
kind of
tag team
leans
it.
forward and says, "Well, Spider, I know that you've been asking for a while now, and we deeply appreciate your offer. My companion here has been deeply considering it, but
Deeply.
This independent son of a bitch.
you know, he values his independence greatly. But we're hoping that we might be able to be more of an asset to you if we were able to move around a bit, and you might be able to come to some agreement as far as getting my ship out of the docking clamps that been placed on it. I know that I have some cargo that your masters would be very interested in when they return. So
He says,
I know about your cargo, Worram. I know you're trying to use it to buy a criffload of fuel from Vork. The web stretches all the way down there to the docks, too. It sounds like a sweetheart deal, baby, but that's the kind of deal that Vork's gonna want to make. And as soon as he gets back, I'm sure he'll love to make it. But if we're going to war, we can't have any independent sons of bitches who might muck things up. I know Zeef doesn't want his name on the roster. He wants to be able to keep his operation So why doesn't he go over and talk to the guild instead?
There's a scoff from the back of the room where the gank is working on his forearm now.
Bounty hunters need transport. It's a job that needs to shake a leg. Maybe then I'll think about lifting the landlock. But I need to put a pin in you, Zeef, one way or the other, before Vork comes back. I've got a list, see, and I need to tick a little box next to every item on that list.
He looks at Spider and says, "Well, that's a generous offer, Spider. But like I said, we value our independence. But what if we were able to come to an agreement? I know if you said there's a war coming, and wars tend to be expensive propositions. And I know the Hutt's pockets are deep, but that's the kind of thing that could hurt even them. So what if we were able to solve the problem of your upcoming war in a agreeable manner without too much involvement from your esteemed personage? Would that be an offer that you would consider?"
Big die hand.
Successful
for
triumph!
triumphant success and advantage.
Just
Spider's
pull the blue
like-
eyes dragon.
What?
Spider goes. So Spider grins and goes,
Well, seeing as that was going to be your first job anyway, you accepted the offer. All right. Go ahead and handle the job for us.
he motions to the back of the room for the gank to haul the Quarren off somewhere, and then reaches into the desk with another hand and places a small stack of pressed bars of Hutt Space hard currency. At a quick glance, with a banker's eyes, you would say that it's maybe 1,500 credits. And he goes,
Once the sharks are handled, we'll release the landlock. But don't go too far, Captain. I was serious when I said Vork wanted to make that deal. Now why don't you boys make yourselves comfortable? Don't rush off back to the other side of the bay. Have a drink. Maybe enjoy the play. You've been here, what? 5 years? You haven't stepped through the door once. Make your stay worth the while.
he begins filling glasses from a drink set to the left side of his massive table. Please spend your triumph on more.
Well, that's what do you have any ideas yourself about things that
Well,
we could...
I'll give you that
spend it
upgrade
on?
for the.
I was
for the
gonna say
rest
that
of the
we
encounter, though.
could ask Spider for like a single person fighter craft to borrow to take out the Karkaros on their way into Narset, just blow them out of the sky.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because we
Be
could
like, let us borrow a Z95
Yeah.
headhunter or something
What
for the
about
bounty.
what about one without a hyperdrive? Would
Because
that
yeah,
be,
they're real big scary, but
so
not
we
if we
can't-
blow them up into transport.
like so
like-
if they're not
He
afraid that
says-
we're gonna dip out.
I mean, he could remove the hyperdrive if he wants, so we could just use it locally in Narset space, since we know in Iceball space, since we
Iceball
know he's
space.
coming here. Like, we don't need to go
goes-
anywhere in it.
If your whole plan is to just put a hit on their transport, you finger the transport for us. I'll have the ship take them out. I've got my own pilot.
So we're not gonna get the triumph for that.
He's not going to give you a ship now. He's not going to give you a starfighter.
But he did say that
To
if you
use,
find
but he'll
out
give
the
you
ship
that.
when it's coming in, he will send it
Yeah.
out.
If
Yeah,
you-
but he also
if you
said
do-
he's got ships and he's got pilots, so secret message received. We'll get a ship from you. Gotcha.
You guys have a starfighter race that you also need to be thrown by this party, and you need some other pilots. So,
Yeah.
you think the cartel's not going to want to beat the casino's ace in the starfighter race on Iceball, the first
some
ever
street
Iceball
Ooh, that's
Open?
true.
That's some street credit.
How about just like a boost to all future dealings with the cartel? Would that be acceptable then? Not like a
Yeah,
downgrade.
you
or
can
an
have it
upgrade,
be a
just
you can have it be a
Whoever
whenever
yellow
we interact with,
or a
We need
boost.
to
Yeah,
make
you
our
can have it be a
dragon
just
blue.
like okay. So boost whenever we have to deal with the cartel.
They're
Like if we
impressed.
if we
Yeah,
encounter Junior, he's been like ordered to give us whatever we need, kind of thing.
yeah, you're officially
Well, to accommodate
unofficially
us
working.
as much as he can, kind of.
Right,
thing.
right,
A boost
right.
isn't super powerful.
No, I just mean like when you
Yeah.
take the quest and then you meet up with the contact, he's like, I've been told to give you some help, so here's the intel, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's how they'll treat us from future.
They're
Or
more
I'm
inclined
only
to
helping you
help
because
us.
my boss told me I have to.
All right, that's fair. That's fine for me.
Yeah.
Then.
I'll
For the
give you an
triumph.
ongoing boost, but not an upgrade.
Okay.
All right. What else do you got for the spider then, Zeefy, before the encounter ends?
Well, my thing was that I was going to try and I was going to try and suggest that we...
Oh, the fighter.
The fighter,
Okay,
but that didn't pan out, so I've got nothing
Right.
else.
Well, you guys both get to roll either your cool or your discipline against nothing, and then you recover as many successes as you generate strength.
Bro, I need to go find and get a new soda after that one. That was like listening to a Law and Order episode.
Yep.
Alright, well, if I only recovered one fucking strain, I'm at 11 out of 13, I'm just going to take a nap for the rest of the thing. Until I'm back to 0.
You go and find, like, a quiet
You got a nap in
the hell with... No, I don't...
casino.
No, fuck the hut compound. I'm going to the speeder. I'm just going to sleep at the speeder in the parking lot. Like, he's exhausted, and I'm like, I don't have tactical readiness. I'm not down with this. So he goes to take a nap somewhere.
You make your way back out through the...
Oh yeah, I pick up the glop grenade on my way too, but I don't keep it.
room.
I drop it in a random trash can somewhere in the main lobby.
The band is just starting to really jam. As you make your way out, there is a weak way on a synth bass keytar, funking it out as you make your way out into the smaller outer bar through the winding passages. They get colder as the air gets drier, and the humidity begins to turn into ice crystals on the surface of your jacket.
What happened with the Quarren?
The Quarren was dragged off
was
by that
dragged
gank
off
bounty
by the
hunter.
He was okay, so he was given
He was taken to a different one.
You make your way through the fallen snow against the tide of factory workers making their way into the bar, and then park yourself in the speeder in the parking structure. Worram, are you staying or are you going? It's lovely here, man.
It is, but
yeah, I would have stayed if I wasn't almost dead. Like, feel free to.
It's the end of the day. Narratively, this session is
true,
like the
but
third
I
or
think
fourth
Worram
session of today.
is too nice of a guy, and like
to party
he's
while
too
Zeef
great.
is like
Well,
out
he's
in the
like
car.
and he's grateful to Zeef, and he's not gonna just like ditch him in the speeder, and he's gonna take him home.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
yeah.
So you guys head back. The camera follows you in Zeef's wake out to the speeder, and then pulls back as the speeder makes its way into the city, and eventually through and back to Fishtown.